Hello everyone. Mic test, mic test. Okay. Good. Right. Okay, good evening, Xingming, Sagi, Desmond, Rashida, Vanessa, Prema Guna, Mitiran, Su Wen. Okay. Hello Samuel. Nice to have you back. Okay. I guess I can begin. All the technical stuff is alright. Welcome to today's Facebook live teaching. Happening every Wednesday at 8 p.m. except for public holidays. So let me give you a brief introduction about myself. I have been working at Heuristics for the last 8 years, and right now I'm the curriculum specialist over here. My job entails me to research on the curriculum and keep up with the latest developments in the questions and also the type of questions that will be tested at the PSLE. So what I'm sharing with you will be relevant and up to date. Right. So let's discuss a bit about this mini course that we are sharing about. It is a very useful thinking framework to solve several problems that your child may face. These problems are common. At the same time, they are not easy for parents because all of us are trained during the age of algebra. So what you may be when you look at your child's work today, you might want to think about using an algebraic framework to solve it. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. It isn't exactly appropriate because that's not what exactly they're taught in school. So what we are doing here is that we are sharing this unit transfer method mini course to keep parents up to date about the latest developments that's happening in schools. So in the previous week, we've already covered lesson 1 on single unchanged quantities. Today we will be dealing with another common set of problems where the difference remains unchanged. Okay, so next week we'll be doing total unchanged. These are the 3 common types of problems that your child must know in order to solve even more difficult problems. Okay, hi Jonas, Weekend, Remus, Jessica, Stefan, Ealing, Lakshman, Lin, 𝗁𝗶𝗆𝗀, and Rekha. Okay, Vanessa too. Hi Ryan. Okay, so all these are based on the Mastering Heuristics series that my boss and mentor, Mr. Sunny Tan, has wrote over the years. So there are these 2 books over here, which is on the unit transfer method. This is for P5 and P6. This is for P4. Okay, you can see that these books have the questions being explained in a step-by-step manner where there's a one-shot working. If you can comprehend this, that's good. But for the children who need to understand the ideas and thought processes so that they can tweak it at the PSLE, all those explanations are also written in there. Okay, so without further ado, let me begin on difference unchanged quantities. Alright. So let's look at this over here. It is pretty much what its name is. The difference in quantity remains unchanged before and after. Okay. Now, for a better viewing experience, what I would suggest is you off your comments first and then listen to me. If you feel the need to type or respond to my questions, then you can swipe back your comments, because I can understand if the comments are overlapping, it may be a bit distracting. Okay, you may want to do that. So over here, let's say that before everything happens, Ali has got $10 and Ben has got $35. The difference between them at the beginning is $25. Okay, then after that, each of them receives $3 from their father. And at the end of the day, the difference in money before and after, does it change? So let's take a look. Ali would have $13 at the end, Ben would have $38 at the end, and you can calculate that if you take 38 minus 13, you're going to get 25 as well. So you can observe that there is no change to this difference over here. Okay, there is no change to the difference over here. And how do we know that this is the case? Hang on, let me make my video smaller. I think it's blocking. Okay, wait. Hang on, let me make this smaller a bit first. Okay, why is it? Okay. So, how do we know that such a case exists? When you look at the change row and you see that you have the same numbers with the same signs, it's either plus plus or minus minus. Okay, for 3 or more, all of them have to be of the same size, and it applies for plus or minus only. Then how does one appreciate this in the model form, especially for P4? So for P4, you see that if you experience the same change over here, in model drawing, this is what will happen. Now, between A and B, A already has got $10, B already has got $35. Okay, so there are two ways you can represent this plus 3 change for both of them. The first way is to add the 3 over here, like what you would usually do. But if you do it this way, it may be a bit difficult to deduce what needs to be done next. So for this model drawing idea, when both of them receive the same amount or experience the same exact change, we can put the 3 over here instead. And when we do this, you can observe that in that difference over here did not move at all. So this is one way the P4s can appreciate this idea. The difference will remain unchanged when you experience the same change. Okay? So let's move on to age difference. So this part here, okay, let me explain this and then I'll teach all those who are celebrating Chinese New Year a trick. Okay? Now, A is 40 years old and B is 10 years old. 4 years ago, okay, if you are going back 4 years in time, both of them have to go back 4 years in time. It is not possible for one of them to stay at the present and the other one, only the other person goes back in time. That's not possible. I mean, at least not today. maybe 1,000 years down the road it may be possible. Okay. So you can see that for age difference between two parties, the difference will always remain unchanged. You can conclude that age difference always remains unchanged. Okay, this is assuming nothing happens to any of them, nothing unfortunate. So the trick that I want to teach all the kids here is this: when you go and 拜年 during Chinese New Year, all you got to do is to remember the age difference of your relatives. So the more they like you, when you remember their age and then you say like 舅舅, wow, you are 65 already, then your 舅舅 will be like, wow, how you know? All you did is to remember the age difference between them, between the 舅舅 and yourself. Okay? Then the more they like you, you know what you get lah. Okay? Okay, so it makes them feel more appreciated in that sense. Okay, let's go on to example 1. Eddie had 3/8 as many Singapore stamps as Malaysia stamps at first. Okay, then after buying another 65 Singapore stamps, after buying another 65 Singapore stamps and 65 Malaysia stamps, he now has got 5 out of 9, as many Singapore stamps as Malaysia stamps. Okay? So you can see that this is before anything happened. This is the change, and this is your after. And the question here is, how many more Malaysia stamps than Singapore stamps did he have at first? Okay, let's allocate the units first. Now, 3/8, as many Singapore stamps as Malaysia stamps at the beginning. So 8 goes to Malaysia stamps, 3 goes to Singapore stamps. You buy another 65 Singapore stamps and Malaysia stamps, he now has got 5 out of 9. As many Malaysia stamps as many Singapore stamps as Malaysia stamps. Okay, so this part here, what I'm doing is to allocate the units. Okay, if you have printed out the handouts, that's very good. Let's take it one step further by following exactly what I'm doing first. Okay, the reason for following what I'm doing is that when you write it in a way that is more familiar to you, when you read it, you will feel like reading it. And secondly, when you look back at the notes, you will understand how all these numbers are derived. Okay, that is the more important thing. When you refer back to the notes, you understand how the numbers are derived. That's why I encourage you, if you have printed it out, do write it down and follow the thought process. Okay, so you got Singapore stamps and Malaysia stamps. Let's list out what we have before, change, and after. Okay, so for Singapore stamps, this is 3. Malaysia stamps, this is 8. On both sides, you added in another 65 stamps. Singapore stamps would now be 5. Malaysia stamps will now be 9. Okay, so after having listed out all the information, the most important part is to look at the change row and identify what kind of change it is. So over here, you will see that you have the same numbers with the same signs. This means that the difference remains unchanged. Okay? So if the difference remains unchanged, we can compare it. Now recall from last lesson, all these numbers over here, how is it linked to model drawing? This would mean that your Singapore stamps has got 3 blocks. This would mean that your Malaysia stamps has got 8 blocks. So the difference between them over here will be 5 blocks. Okay? Then over here, you have another 5 blocks and another 9 blocks. But these 2 blocks have different lengths from the ones before. Okay, so don't worry if you don't get that, because I'm not going so much into model theory right now. So let's compare the difference between 9 and 5. That will give us 4 blocks. Okay, so for you to appreciate this idea, we can say that the difference is unchanged. And here, if you have 5 blocks, just imagine this, okay? You have one entire total block over here. You can cut it into 5 rows, 5 equal rows. At the same time, they can be cut into 4 columns. What we want to do is to make them the same and obtain the lower and we get them to the lowest common multiple. Okay, so that lowest common multiple between 5 and 4 is 20. In order to get this to 20, we have to multiply this by 4. So this becomes 32 and this becomes 12. Over here, you want to multiply this by 5 so that this becomes 20 as well. Get them to the lowest common multiple. And when you do that, the entire row needs to be multiplied by 5. Okay? Once we all have this figured out, what do all these numbers mean then? All these numbers mean that if I have 12 of these types of blocks, the small ones, and I increase this to 25 blocks, okay, over here we call it units to say that all these blocks are of the same length. So from 12 units up to 25 units, this will give you 13 units. And you can see that when you experience this change over here, this 13 units is that 65. Okay? So once we have that, what else can we say? Hang on. Okay. What else can we say? We can say that your 1 unit now has to be 65 divided by 13. Find out the value of 1 unit first. You always want to be thinking about finding out the value of 1 unit first. So once you have done this already, you can say that how many more Malaysian stamps than Singapore stamps did he have at first. So there are a few ways that this can be done. The first way is you find out your number of Singapore stamps over here. Then you find out your Malaysian stamps over here, the actual numbers, and then you subtract. The other way is to see that this refers to the difference at the beginning. So there's a total of 20 units. 20 units must be 20 times 5 will give you 100. So your answer here will be 100. Okay? Okay, first of all, I see one answer 25. I think I know how you got that, but it's not 5 times 5. The reason here is this: when you make them all into the same subunit, okay, can you see that at the beginning you had 2 blocks of different lengths? One is a blue block, one is a red block. Okay, this 5 over here is this blue block itself, but 1 unit alone over here is one of these small blocks over here. Okay? So actually, if you want to do it 5 times that, you have to find out one of these blue blocks length first. Okay? It's a common mistake that some students make also. So don't worry too much about it. The main idea here is that you always want to be finding out the most updated subunits value. Okay? Okay, if you got it, please spam the like button. If you don't get it, please clarify. If you don't understand, please take note of where you don't understand. Okay, it's the font 25 units. Here we are comparing the difference. You imagine, okay, imagine this. You got 25 blocks, right? Just imagine this. If you have 25 blocks, and no, you have 12 blocks at the beginning. Then you added in 13 more blocks, right? And the value increased by 65. What can you say about these 13 blocks? Okay? So a lot of you got it. That's nice to hear. Oh no. Okay, wait. Let me just reply something. Okay, Stacy is asking whether you can get the books from Popular or not. The answer is technically can, but you have to check with them whether they have stock or not. Later on, I can pass you the link to order direct from us. We can send it to you by SingPost. Okay, so let's move on to number 2. Okay, so last year there were 0.6 times as many girls as boys in the chess club. After 25 boys and 25 girls leave the club this year, the number of girls becomes 40% as many as the number of boys. Okay? So how do we do this? First, you want to change decimals and percentages into fractions first. Okay, by definition, 0.6 is 6/10. And this simplifies down to 3 out of 5. Then as for 40%, 40% means 40 small blocks out of a total of 100. When you simplify this down into fractions, this becomes 2 out of 5. So change this to 3 out of 5, change this to 2 out of 5, and then allocate your units. This 5 goes to boys, this 3 goes to girls. This was before anything happened. There is this change over here, and now it becomes 2/5 as many as the number of boys. Hang on. Number of girls becomes 2/5 as many as the number of boys. So this 5 goes to boys, this 2 is supposed to go to girls. Okay, so now you have boys and girls. Let's draw out the before, change, and after table and tabulate the information first. Okay. So is there a simpler way to simplify the decimals into fractions? The answer is yes. You must get used to using the calculator. This is for P5 and P6. So if you press something like 0.6, it will give you the fractions by default. If you press 40% like this, and you press the equal sign, you are also going to get a fraction. So the calculator can simplify it for you. For the P5s, get to know it, you'll be using it for a long time. Okay? Right, so let's allocate the units now. 3 goes to girls, 5 goes to boys. 25 boys, 25 girls leave the club this year. That's the change. The number of girls becomes 2/5 the number of boys. So 2 goes to girls, 5 goes to boys. Now, let's look at the change rule. Over here, we see that we have the same numbers with the same signs. Hence, we can conclude that the difference here remains unchanged. Okay? When the difference is unchanged, we can compare before and after, because this is now your repeated identity. The before difference and the after difference are the same. So before that, there is a difference of 5 minus 3 to give you 2. Later on, there is a difference of 5 minus 2 to give you 3. So over here, if you have 2 blocks, just imagine this. Here you have 2 blocks being equal to 3 of these blocks. This same total can be cut in this manner. So if it can be cut in this manner, we want to get them to their lowest common multiple, which is 6. So we multiply this by 3, multiply this row by 2. So you have to multiply every single one of them in order to maintain that equivalence. Okay, so this will become 15, this will become 9, this will become 10, this will become 4. Okay, so once we have this already, all these numbers represents your number of units now. So from 15 units down to 10 units. Stefan, please answer my question. How many units of change is there? Okay, let's just spell this out first. The change in the number of units, how many are there? What was the change? Okay, there are 5 units, right? Because you have 15U minus 10U to give you 5 units. So what was the change in the numbers? Okay, here we don't care about whether is it plus or minus. We look at the absolute value, or rather the change. The change over here is 25. So we can form that connection and we say that this 25 is this 5 units here. And if that is the case, then 1 unit must be 25. If 5 units is 25, this must be 25 divided by 5 to give you 5. And once we have this already, we want to find out how many girls there were in the chess club at first. So recall, you want to find out the most updated unit, which is the 9 units over there. So this will be 9 copies of 5. And this will give you 45. Okay, so your answer here will be 45. Okay, very good. A lot of you got it. Okay, very good. Okay, thank you for your answer. Please spam the like button if you got it. Okay, how do you get 60? Okay, Rasmus is asking, is there a lesson next Wednesday? Chinese New Year week, no. Chinese New Year week, don't have. Next week still have. CNY week won't have. Okay, thank you for your participation. Okay, number 3. Now, 3 brothers. Let's move on to something a bit more difficult with still applying the same idea. Now, there are 3 brothers, Andy, Benny, and Kelvin, they shared some money in the ratio of 6:5:1. So allocate those units first. I think ratio, in my opinion, is the most intuitive topic. Okay, because the left number goes to the left item, the middle number goes to the middle item, and the right number goes to the right item. Okay, so this was before anything happened. After their mother gave each of them $27, this is the change. The ratio now became 15:3. 15:13:5. So that is your after. Okay. So find the amount of money each of the boys had at first. So yep, this one is like a P6 question. Okay, got one question also by James. Is it not advisable for students to draw model for such questions? Okay, first of all, you can use model to solve also. And if the child is extremely good with models, right? And if he's extremely good with models, if he's more comfortable with it, by all means, just go ahead with it. Yeah, my friend just came on. Okay, so with that defined, let's draw out the PCA table between ND. Okay, let me spell out this one because there's ABC and BCA, so it can get quite confusing for those who are uninitiated. Okay. Okay, so now once we have it, let's just input what we know first. Okay, before Andy got 6, Benny got 5, Kelvin got 1. The mother gave each of them $27. So this is plus 27, plus 27, plus 27. Ratio became 15:13:5. Okay, so over here, if you look at all three of them, okay, in model form, if you imagine it in a model form, this is what's actually happening. Kelvin got the most, Benny got like 5 blocks, and this Kelvin got 1. So all of them are experiencing the same change with the same sign. So we are all adding on 27 to all of them. Correct? So the difference between them, between B and C will not change. Between C and A, it will not change. Between A and B, this difference does not change. It does not move. So based on this idea, you can say that you can compare the difference between A and B. Okay, and take note of your subtraction ordering, because at the primary level you won't have negative numbers. Okay, so you have to take the bigger number and subtract by the smaller number. Alright, so over here the difference here is 1, and later on the difference here, there's 2 units over here. So what can we say about this? We can say that these two are equal. We want to make them the same. Between 1 and 2, that lowest common multiple is 2. To get this to 2, this entire row needs to be multiplied by 2. So let's do that. And right now, we have cut them all up into the same subunit, same blocks with the same lengths. Okay, so once we have this already, we can see that from 12 units up to 15 units, the change in units was 3 units. Okay? These 3 units is precisely the $27 that they received from their mom. Then once we know that this is the case, we can say that 1 unit will be 27 divided by 3 to give you 9. Then we can find out the amount of money each of the boys had at first. Okay, so how do we do that? We have to find the most updated unit at the beginning. At first, that will refer to before. So we find out 12 units for A. This will be 12 times 9, 108. Benny is 10 units, so this is 10 times 9 to give you 90. 2 units will be 2 times 9 to give you 18. So the answer here for A will be $108. B will be $90. For C, this will be $18. Okay? Yep, a lot of you got it. Stephon, you got it already. I think you're getting the idea. Okay, if you don't understand, please clarify which part you don't understand. Prema Guna, which part do you not understand? Okay, Rekha is asking, can we solve this question with total? If you mean by total unchanged, that's not possible, because when, okay, just to show you what's going to happen, if you compare the total between all 3 of them, you have a total of 12 blocks here, you will plus 81 here, and then you would have 33 blocks here. So what this means is you have like 12 units at the beginning. Okay, 12 units at the beginning. You add on 81. And then now you are going to have 33 blocks of a different length. Not possible to do it by this way, but you can use all changing to solve it if you prefer that way. That one I'll cover in chapter 4. Okay? Why need to times? Because you see okay, Alicia is asking why need to times. If you have 1 block here, you compare it with something else which has 2 blocks. How do you compare this fairly? To compare this fairly, you have to make them all the same, right? By cutting them up like this. So over here, you have to multiply this entire row by 2. That's the same reason. Okay, so when you are asking why you use 12, 10 and 2 to times, because this is the most updated subunit over here. This 1 unit is equal to 9, means that one of these small blocks is 9. Okay, I have 12 of these 9s over here, so that's why I need to use the most updated subunit. Okay, so Jessica is asking why 15 minus 12 is equal to 3 units. Because if you look at ND over here, okay, from 12 units, from A's point of view, from 12U, to 15U, the increase is 3 units, correct? The increase of 3 units, where did it come from? It must come from somewhere. It came from their mom, giving them net $27. Okay, why this cannot be solved by total unchanged? Because the total is going to change. The total between all 3 of them is going to change, and that is why your total is no longer the repeated identity. Hence, you cannot use total unchanged for this. Okay? So this will become 12 units, this will become 33 parts. You will have to use all changing to solve it if you go by this route. Okay? Okay. One of the most common questions I see here is why 15U minus 12U is equal to 3U. I repeat again. If you look at Andy's point of view, okay, from 12 units, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. From 12 units, right? If you increase this to 15 units, how many units are you adding on? You are adding on these 3, correct? And what was the change over here? It came from the mother. The $27 that came from the mother must have been this increase. You have to form that connection. Okay? So now let's move on to number 4. Okay, so this was the question that I posted. Okay, technically it's not very difficult. Okay, you just need to know how to break it down and be very clear about which information to use. Now, the ratio of Sally's age to Jaden's age is 2:7, so this was before anything happened. In 15 years' time, there is a change, there is going to be a change. The ratio of Sally's age to Jaden's age will become 1:2. So, let's just list out what we have first. In how many years' time will their combined age be 70 years old? So you have Sally and Jaden here. This is before, change, and after. Using the same idea, let's just tabulate what we have first. This is 2 and 7. In 15 years' time, both of them is going to age by 15 years. It is not possible for Sally. Okay, maybe I put it this way to you. I ask you a very ridiculous question and it will seal the learning example here. Is it possible for you to be older than your parents? Okay, let me ask you a very ridiculous question. This one, if you get it, you will remember this very well. Is it possible for you to be older than your parents if both of you are alive? Okay, not with today's technology. Okay, if you can be older than your parents, please prove it to me. Okay, I'd like to see how it's done. So Sally is going to be 1 and Jaden will be 2. Both of them will age by 15 years. So once we got that, we can now look at this change rule over here. Or we can also argue that age difference will always remain unchanged. And we say that the difference before and the difference after is the repeated identity. It remains unchanged, therefore it's the repeated identity. And then we compare this. From 7 minus 2 will give us 5 over here. 2 minus 1 will give us 1 over here. Okay, so we say that these two are equal and we want to make them the same. So we times this entire row by 5. Okay, once we have done this already, we want to find out the value of 1 unit first. So to do that, we compare from 2 units up to 5 units. There was a change of 3 units. Okay, from 2U to 5U, there was a change of 3 units. That 3 units, where did it come from? That 3 units came from this 15 years that both of them age by. So once we got that, we can say that 1 unit must be 15 divided by 3 to give you 5. And then once we know this, if we know that 1 unit is 5, how are we going to answer this problem here? Okay. In how many years' time will their combined age be 70 years old? So right now, we need to determine their present age. Okay? If you read back at the question, you will see that this before statement is the present. This is the future, which is actually hypothetical. Okay? In 15 years' time, they will indeed have a age ratio of 1:2. But that's not what you're concerned about. What you're concerned about is using that present age first. So you can see that right now Sally is now 2 units. No, you know what? Okay, you combine these two up together, their total age right now is 9 units. So this will be 45. 9 times 5 to give you 45. And how many more years do we need to obtain 70 years old? We are short of 25 years. So this 25 years is split between both of them equally. So we have to take this and divide it by 2. So this will give us 12.5. Okay? So the answer here will be 12.5 years. Okay, so for those of you who are not too sure, you can see that Sally here is 10. This Julian here is 35. So I need to add on the same number of years for both of them until this entire total over here is 70. Then I need to know how to find out one of these blocks over here. Okay? Why not 25? Because when you age, if one of them aged by 1 year, the other person also ages by 1 year. So that's why this entire red block here you need to find is 25. It is distributed equally between the both of them. Okay? So that's why you need to divide it by 2. Why not 11? How do you get 11 in the first place? Yeah, you can leave it as 12.5 years also. That's fine by most teachers. Yes, the answer can be expressed as a fraction. Okay. So if you have any queries, you can clarify them with me first. Okay, you're welcome, 𝗁𝗶𝗶𝗆. Okay. No, you don't take 70 minus 10 minus 5. This okay, this and this represents the number of blocks. It is not the actual number of years. These two only represents the number of blocks that we have. Why will there be a decimal? Because you need it to fill up the remaining. Okay, you see if each of them is 12 and 12 already, right? The total here you have is 69. If you add 1 to both of them, you are going to get 71. So, in order for you to have an exact age of 70 years old, this has to be divided by 2. Okay? Alright, so okay, that's all I have for you today. The class is over. Okay, but before I go, let me talk a bit more about the Mastering Heuristics series and a one-time offer, limited time offer. So these two books, which my mentor has written, is on sale over here. Stacy is still around, and they can be accessed from this URL over here. Okay, so what do these books consist of? When you purchase it from us, not only will you be getting the guidebook, you will also be getting web teaching videos, the Maths Heuristics mobile app. Here, let me just show you a bit. Okay. So this will be our mobile app, and access to a virtual classroom and Facebook group. Okay, so that's not what I want to inform you about. What I want to inform you about is, for a limited time only, there is a bonus offer. Okay, when you purchase these two books, either when you purchase these two books or you purchase them in a bundle, you are going to be getting 2 free online live trial lessons at 𝗏𝗏𝗶𝗏. So what is 𝗏𝗏𝗶𝗏? 𝗏𝗏𝗶𝗏 is a leading provider in education services through live videos. Okay, live, it's not recorded. And on top of that, you'll be getting $10 credits for this. Okay, so what are the advantages of online learning? They provide real-time interaction just like between you and me, except that with their platform, it can go a lot better, it's a lot smoother, because on Facebook Live, there is often about 10 seconds of a lag. In 𝗏𝗏𝗶's platform, this lag is reduced to nearly less than 1 second. It is in real time. Secondly, there is a motivating classroom environment where I will keep giving you live group quizzes, and you can also learn from each other. I will highlight those points that students make that are relevant, and I'll point them out. And you can enjoy quality lessons like these at home. Okay, so these are the timings, respective timings for the respective levels. Okay, so you can purchase the books over here first, and then we will do up the administration for you. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Edwin. Okay, see you all soon. Okay, it's the font that is exactly the reaction I'm looking for. That is the reason why I teach. This kind of joy you cannot fake one. Okay, so let me see what you are writing, then I can talk to you in a better way. Where is it? Okay, so if you have any questions, I'll take them now. Okay, you're welcome, Janet. Nice to hear that. Okay, good night, Jessica. Okay, you're welcome, Daniel. Go. So right now, if you need to leave, you can leave first. The lesson is over. I'm here to stay back to answer any questions that you may have. Okay? Okay. The camera placement not very good, I find. Maybe I should do this. Okay, Sagi is asking answer in decimal or fraction. If there's no restriction, go with the one that you prefer. Alternatively, there are questions that you may have some recurring decimals one, right? Like, let's say if you try to do this 100/7, you're gonna get, if you try to express this in decimal, you're gonna get 14.2857 with recurring decimals. Okay, never ending ones. These are better to express in fractions. Okay? Those more definite ones are like 12.5. It's easier to express in decimals. Generally speaking, if they have no restriction, you can choose either one and it will be fine. Faiz, there's only so much I can do. The rest will be up to you. Okay? Oh, there will be a lot more to learn from me. Okay, thank you all for your time then. I think I'll take my leave first. It's Kevin from 𝗏𝗁𝗃 signing off. Hope to see you all soon next week. Same time. Good night.